Unlike Michael, I got very conflicted about which perspective to come at this from, because I've thought about youth unemployment from so many different perspectives. At Civic Action, I worked with partners from all different sectors, including some pretty fabulous people in this room, to create more opportunities for youth, particularly around jobs and the economy. And these were youth living in low income, they were youth living in underserved communities, and they were immigrant youth as well. Doing that, I saw how easy it was to slip from being optimistic to really feeling very little hope about ever getting ahead. Or worse still, I met a lot of people who had never felt optimistic at all. But the exciting thing was I saw the power of connecting young people to mentors and others who could give them the information and access to networks and the opportunities that they needed to move forward. And it wasn't just powerful for the young people. So young people would get introductions to jobs, they would get skills, they would get knowledge. But the more experienced people, the business leaders, the senators of the world, would hear directly from young people about what the realities are of finishing school and not having a job, and or leaving, having a mountain of debt. And there were these big aha moments that would go off, and we did work around income security. And I'll never forget one of the really senior Bay Street business leaders sitting down with a woman who had refused a promotion at her bank. She was young, she was a single mom, and if she took the promotion, she'd get a whole lot more money, but she'd lose all the benefits she had, her clothing allowance for her kid and things like that. And him saying, oh my gosh, I finally get it. It's not that you aren't motivated and you don't care about moving ahead. It's that this will be, will take your whole life down a couple of notches. So those conversations to me are very, very powerful. Working with the province, I was a volunteer and we helped to create the first ever immigration strategy for the province. And we looked at the challenges for newcomers, including newcomer youth. And if you think that Canadian-born youth have trouble finding a job, imagine what it's like to be here with no Canadian education, no Canadian experience, and no Canadian network at all. And that work also really hit home for me what a terrible job we do of telling newcomers to Canada, but everybody here already, about the types of jobs we expect to see in the future, or even the kinds of skills people might need. We know that a lot of the jobs today didn't exist 10 years ago, and you probably saw a Workopolis study over the weekend that was talking about things like Zumba instructor and big data analysis and elder care services coordinator. But there's little to tell us what those kinds of jobs might be. And what other people like Michael probably realize this, but I realize that government data is so retrospective, and when we see these labor market projections, it's based on stuff that's been happening for the last 10 years. It's not what's coming. So that's pretty hard for us to be making decisions on, or for young people to be deciding their future on. I think businesses do a better job because they're planning their budgets and they're figuring out where they're going to invest. But unless they have some publicly engaged economist or a CEO, a Don Drummond type, most of us never get to hear about what they're thinking, and that's a real pity. And I thought a lot about youth unemployment as a mother too. I've got 2 kids in university, and I don't think that either one of them has a clue what they're going to do in the future, I'm quite sure. And it used to be in the day or whatever, in my day. A job that looked like an entryway to a lifelong career, you could see those jobs, you saw them everywhere. But now those sorts of jobs are very hard to land, and even if you get them, they're really hard to keep. And even if you keep it, you might be working for what looks like the sector of the universe, IT, and be working for BlackBerry and you are out of a job. So I think career has been redefined, and now it's a series of reinventions. It's not steps up a ladder, and that's a pretty big change in not too long time. I'm not that old. So based on what I've learned about the importance of networks and the lack of information about what's coming, as well as the decline of these lifelong careers, I know that my kids and no young person can rely on someone to prepare them to become a teacher or a banker and say that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Instead, I think they need to prepare themselves for a series of jobs or careers, probably including ones that haven't been yet invented. So they need to be developing skills that are going to serve them in whatever they do, communications skills, IT skills, financial planning skills. They need to build networks with people who can teach them and help them connect with new opportunities. And they really have to learn how to make the most out of every opportunity they have, and that can include unpaid internships or paid internships, and maybe we'll come back to that. and if possible, to be able to create opportunities for themselves. So I, since January, have had a fantastic job at the Canadian Youth Business Foundation, which is all about helping young people to create employment opportunities for themselves. And we've helped over 5,600 Canadians, 18 to 39, launch new businesses across Canada by giving them access to business coaching, loans, fantastic mentors, and then access to networks and other supports to keep them going. These businesses look like Canadian business, but 98% of them are mainstream. They're physiotherapists, they're restaurants, they're hair salons. There's a good mix of some little neat high growth and tech-based companies. All of these people, these 5,600 people, came to us with an idea for a business, but only about 10% of them have a decent business plan. So we've got a lot of people there with ideas who just don't quite know what to do. We help them get their business plan in place, and then we can loan them up to $15,000. It's less than bank rates. It's repayable, interest only in the first year. The Business Development Bank of Canada will piggyback on that and give them another $30,000. So a person with an idea can suddenly have a business plan, $45,000 in place, which may not sound like much to some people, but it's something you can shop around, and it's something to pay the rent and get most businesses up and going. Along with the loans, though, we CYBF entrepreneurs get a mentor for 2 years, and you don't get your money till you have your mentor. And you have to have sat down with that person and go through an orientation that we designed with Lava Life, because it's all about how do you get to know this person and how will we work together. And we've had almost 4,000 volunteer mentors work with our entrepreneurs across Canada. And they are truly the secret sauce. They are amazing people. And then CYBF entrepreneurs also have access to online and other resources, and we have people who are entrepreneurs in residence, and you can pick up the phone and talk to them and say, this is going on. But it really is the mentors who are the people who help you through. The combination of all this makes our young entrepreneurs more successful than the average Canadian startup. They have better than average long-term success rates, they pay back the money. And these are people who started with an idea. We don't take any collateral. So it's really the idea and their character that bring them along. So I just quickly wanted to tuck a few policy ideas in for us to talk about, because I'm not sure where people want to take the conversation. But some of the things, I think we do a lot of work internationally too, and whenever we bring young Canadian entrepreneurs to other countries, they come back saying a couple of things. One is, we actually have it pretty good in Canada. We didn't realize that. And the second thing is, every other young entrepreneur in every other country is thinking about how to trade globally, and we don't think about that at all. So I think that at the end of the day, we support young entrepreneurs a lot better than many countries do. And I was just in Moscow with a group of Canadians, and in Russia, if you tell your parents you're going to become an entrepreneur, it's like saying I'm going to become a prostitute. It's considered just awful. So that's not happening here. You know, we actually are pretty supportive. But some of the things that I would love for us to talk about and you to think about are, how do we get people, how do we embed entrepreneurial thinking throughout school so that people are thinking about creating and new opportunities from a very early age? How do we treat entrepreneur as the viable career option that it is, and tell young people about some of the opportunities that are available? So for instance, 60% of our small business owners are going to be out of business within a few years. They're retiring. And there's nobody to buy some of these businesses. How do we tell young people about real businesses sitting there ready for them? We need to provide potential entrepreneurs throughout the country with access to technology. We have places in Ontario that don't have high-speed internet. That's pretty hard to launch a business with. Mentors and resources, either directly or through organizations like mine, to help them launch startups. And I'd like to see how we make government regulation more friendly for startups and corporates. So I don't think that this sits with government. I don't think it sits entirely with young people. It's also with corporates. So how does a TV band make itself more accessible to young startups that have a good product that maybe can't come in through the channels that they've got set up? So hopefully we can discuss these and other opportunities. I'm really curious to hear from you, because I'm now in this business, but I'm new enough to not own very much, and hopefully you can help me develop my thinking too. Thank you.